welcome back to the channel. I'm here again with Steve Hill, Black atheist Satanist, who wants to talk about the N-word today. So I'll start off by asking Steve what his personal feelings about the N-word are.
Well, good evening, Martha. So pleasant to see and meet you once again. Yeah, that N-word is a I guess I would call it a personal beef with the N-word, because from my perspective, I absolutely detest it. I detest it like an illness. It is such a derogatory, demeaning, insidious, devious. I mean, just the nature, just the fact, you know, that it's meant as a tool of oppression to oppress people, to, you know, automatically put you in a place of inferiority, and you know, to demean you, to make you think that you are something less than a human being, you know. And the truth is, it's such a simple word. You know, the Spanish word for negro is black. It's such an innocent, you know, almost beautiful word, negro. And here in America, here only in America, could it be turned into something that is synonymous with evil, hatred, and white superiority.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you then, how often do you hear that word in your life?
How often do I hear it?
I mean,
very, very, very few times. I don't hear the N-word often, and you know, I'll be saying nigger later, but when I say the word nigger, it's meant in its proper context. That means coming out of a white person's mouth, because I think they are the only ones that should use it. It's their word, they should use it. Black people should use it under no circumstances should we use it. Now, what was the question again? Because I can tell you, I'm going to get thrown off, because when I speak about this, I get really, you know, it takes me in so many different places. I mean, it takes me to rappers. It takes me to college campuses. It you know, takes me to places where Black people are not, you know, because what a lot of white people don't say it around us, so you won't hear it. But yeah, I don't hear it. I really don't hear it. For one, I don't associate really with Black people who use it. Even in its nigga, not nigger, in its nigga, that's meant to be used, you know, for us, which I think is absolutely bullshit. You can't turn a word like that into something positive, like the rappers say. They want to, oh, well, we just turn it into like a term of endearment. No, no. If you are conscious, if you are not naive, you know where that word originated at, you know where it comes from, and you will not use it in any capacity. Zero. So, yeah, nah.
so there's no way that it could be reclaimed or changed at this point in history.
Oh, no, because of its foundation, because of its history. You know, you can never beautify that. You know, see if you can you know, beautify like the word motherfucker. You can't do it. You can't. If somebody called you a motherfucker, you know that it's nothing beautiful about that. If someone called you a whore, slut, or, you know, anything derogatory, you know, it's in our vernacular. It's derogatory. It's not meant to do you any good. You know, so that way you can't transform it into something used between Blacks. You know, now it's like this has been happening since a couple of years after rap music, when all the white kids started also using the N word. Now it's like everyone uses it. It's and I hear it, and it just sends a chill up my spine. Like when I'm in a store, just stopped into a store a couple of weeks ago just to get a soda, and there was a young man on the phone having this loud, obnoxious conversation, and he couldn't put two words together without putting nigga on the end of it, or nigga on the beginning of it, or just, it's just an egregious use, just horrible, and it's like the guy couldn't serve me to get me out of this guy's perimeter quick enough, proximity. By the time I got in the car, man, I could have just spun my tires getting out of there. I was so sick of hearing the N word. It's like, so yeah, I don't deal with people, and even my close friends who might use it, I'll let them know right off the bat. And out of respect to me, they don't use it around me. They don't, because it's going to create a conversation with me. So they don't use it. So fortunately, I don't hear it very often. Well, I can tell you part of my hatred. See, I had my mother's experience growing up in Mississippi in the 1920s and 30s. The white kids were allowed to ride the bus, and black kids had to walk to school, not unless they had a horse or something or a pony. But they walked to school, and I've heard this story. I don't know how many times, but it must really affect a person if they could tell this story their whole life. And I've heard it my whole life from my mother, how they'd be walking to school, they'd be walking, treading through the mud, because there were all dirt roads down there. And the white kids would go by on the bus and just scream out the bus window, nigger, 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 nigger. As far you can hear it. She said you can hear it as far as the bus got out of sight. You could hear it till they couldn't see you no more. And just her talking about that, like all of my life, I know that it was, something that was a horrible event in her life. So, and
yeah, I've heard stories of the generational damage of various, things like that. Or, for instance, I know someone whose father's father was lynched. And so even though, when I've met this man whose father was lynched, he's been nice to me, and we've chatted or whatever, but he basically doesn't hang around white people. And it's like, you can, there's no question as to why would that happen like that, right? Right. So that's 3 generations of people who've been affected, and obviously before his father's probably other things, but that was a big thing in the family, and that's not forgotten, right? And that is still the trauma that their family lives with every day. Yeah. Hey man, I hate to admit it, but I think most African Americans in America who are conscious, who are awake and aware of our condition and our situation, I think most of us suffer from some form of PSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. With all of the, by the time you get my age, like almost 60, you've gone through enough and you know how this stuff works enough, to once you hear that N word and you kind of run through this rapid mental Rolodex in your head of your history and your lived and learned life experiences, it just triggers something in you, no matter whose mouth it comes out of, especially used in a leisurely way, as if it's something to be taken lightly. I think that's something that obviously we don't want to cope with in this country, but that is very important. And it's like one of the elephants in the room, right? I don't know if you've read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, but But the very first example she has, right, like page 1, is this family where no one's ever voted, right?
Yeah.
Because the person she knows is a felon, and then his father, can't remember what happened with his father, but like his father was lynched, and his father before him had crosses burned on the lawn, and his father before him was a slave. And it's like, here's 5 generations who've never been able to vote because there's been some kind of, institutional racism and violence that's kept them from doing that. So, that's, I don't even know how we change that, but obviously we have to.
Oh, it's going to take centuries. It's going to have to be, but I think the first hurdle is that this country coming to grips and dealing with the realization of the barbaric, inhumane act of enslaving another ethnic group, and just put it all out there and do something as some type. I mean, give everyone tax-free status for a couple of generations. Don't give us money. Educate our children. Send our kids to college. Let everybody go to whatever college they can qualify for to get a higher degree of learning and education. So you'll get out of that competitive. Maybe start your own business or something to that effect. But until we do something about this, instead of just storing all of these descendants of slaves inside these ghettos
and prisons, yes,
and trust me, ghettos and prisons. Yeah. And that's, if you can look and tell by what happened on January 6th, that's going to be a heavy lift, getting all of those people that voted for Trump, somewhere between 73 and 75 million, depends on who's spinning it. You're gonna have to get those people to wake up and realize, okay, maybe we do owe those niggers something. You see how I use that only in the context of it coming out of a white person's mouth. Mm-hmm. I've been doing comedy for over 10 years. I've never said the N-word on stage, but I'm writing some material right now for a comedy special, and I think I'm gonna have to do a disclaimer or something, because I got some jokes that, you can't say the N-word. You gotta actually say nigger or nigga or, So I'm gonna, maybe this is the time for it in this special. I can kind of do a segment before I start going into the jokes. I can talk some serious, shit about what I think about the N-word. So, so that'll be out there. Somebody besides the rapper's opinion of the N-word, someone with a maybe a higher degree of consciousness, and then tell some jokes. I got some jokes that I wrote, but
jokes are good.
Yeah, and it's good jokes because it's just not picking on white people. It's also picking on black people. So the way they use it and the way they use it. Yeah. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting comedy special when this comes out, if it ever comes together.
Well, I don't know if we'll ever get there, but at least I've seen the word reparations being bandied around where I hadn't heard it before.
Yeah, it's been since the 70s. But
I see more references to it. But I like your idea about the education or the tax-free status, something.
Yeah, something. Something to give us a push, something to push us off shore and set sail, let us get out in the wind in the sea passage lanes and start our businesses and build our communities with wealth where everyone can afford to maintain the value influencing characteristics of their house, and their property values won't be low. I mean, things like that. Maybe they give us a $50,000 Lowe's gift card, and we can keep our houses maintained and our property values up. And then, there won't be any adverse effect if white people move in.
Mm. Well,
Hopefully they'll keep their houses looking nice.
that's right. Just cite them for their grass being too long.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like a practical idea that you've got, and so I mean, I don't see everybody jumping on the bandwagon, but I at least that would be a cool idea to start a conversation. And
Yeah.
try
Yeah.
to.
I was discussing it when I was running for office.
Mm.
You know, and people kind of you know, I didn't hear anybody like faint or pass out when I discussed educating our children to giving them a shot at the American dream. Everybody was kind of like, you know, coming from a former correctional officer, I guess it sounded pretty good. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, we have a lot of.
But sorry, I was just had to get this out. But you know what? If you say, give them, you know, what kind of monetary compensation would you even suggest that would sound good? Give them all $50,000. You know what? You think that Capitol thing on January 6th was bad? Oh, white people be white people be going off. Just put it like that. So yeah, but if you make it sound, you know, education, where maybe we have to put forth some effort too if we want to partake in this dream of upward mobility and, you know, rising through the class levels, maybe to get to the upper middle class and educate our kids and start having generation after generation of college graduates instead of generation after generation of prison inmates. I would say that that's a good idea. You start getting all of the diversionary tactics like, oh, well, my people didn't have slaves and we were poor too. And, you know, we came here from France, you know, or my people came from Germany in, you know, back in the great migration from Europe. And so we didn't have, you know, and it's like, okay, but guess what? Guess what? You benefit from everything we've done. You're over here enjoying this beautiful democracy, and you know, with a little work and a hard work and a little luck, you can be living the American dream. And guess what? It was done on our backs, on the Indians' land, and our labor.
Been structured so that a little bit of hard work is not going to result in wealth, right? So you have your occasional Barack Obamas or somebody, but the system almost always requires somebody to be the token to point to, right? Hey, well, he succeeded, right, so all you have to do is work hard. Well, maybe not so much, right? You can work all you want, and that's not necessarily going to help you.
Right. Yeah, just like my sister has a famous saying, everybody's not going to make it. When she refers to Black people, and she just says, everybody's not going to make it, you know? And she's right. She's right. Odds are, you're born on the north side of St. Louis, odds are you know, not unless you can play sports or, you know, see those Jordans and all those athletes, those, you know, those are the guys that are Americans. The rest of us, I guess we just niggers. You know, if you're not in the NBA, if you're not a famous celebrity, then all the rest of us basically to America are just, you know. And then if you could also, like OJ, mess up as a celebrity and you could get thrown over in the nigger pile real quick. Well, they've pretty much gutted the Voting Rights Act. Hopefully they can get that John Lewis bill through and get Biden to sign it. But you know, that whole Citizens United thing with the Supreme Court, where they ruled that corporations are people, which is absolutely bullshit. But you know, that's a whole nother level of injustice. I mean, we got so many levels of injustice in America, in all of our sectors, all of our industries, all of our, institutions. It's just ripe with injustice. And
yeah, we're not going to be able to
until we can confront it. Yeah, we got to confront it and deal with it, in a direct, head-on manner to snap people into the reality of what we have to do. We have to fix it. Yeah, a long time ago, this is basically, I had some people who, and I thank them, but I had a older brother, Vietnam veteran, and a brother-in-law. My older brother taught me a lesson kind of harshly. He is the one that taught me the lesson that you don't say nigga in front of white people. There was a lady that came over. This was probably, I think he was on leave from Vietnam. So this was probably 72. And there was I remember her, white, thin, small, little, petite white lady came up in a skirt. I think she was selling insurance or something. And I kept messing with him and saying, nigga. And man, he pushed me and said, shut up, stop. And I couldn't, the only thing I could tie it to was, it's a white person right there. That's the only thing I could tie it to. But I tied it pretty quickly because it was like my eyes opened up, her eyes opened up, everybody's eyes opened up, and I ran off into the house. But it was that time, at that point in history, my history, that my brother, I learned that you can't use that around white people. And then I had a brother-in-law who was a Marine. This is probably, this was just another motivating factor to get me to join the Marines. But he came back from the Marines, and he was a changed guy. He would just rail against people saying the N-word. Because, in the early 70s in the military, all the blacks had to stick together. And he had a big thing when he came back home about the N-word. And I just listened to, and I looked up to him. He was my brother-in-law. And he was a Marine now. And he was just telling everybody, no, don't say that. Don't say that word. Don't say that. Don't say, And that's when it really stuck to me. I went all the way through the Marine Corps. I never said it. I never called my friends, So yeah, I think if we could change a whole generation of kids, if people raise their levels of consciousness and, like they cancel everything else. They cancel Dr. Seuss. We should start cancel culturing our hip hop artists and our entertainers and the leaders of our communities, the Jay-Z's and Beyonce's and Oprah's, and they should all be on this, like speaking this so people can hear it. They have platforms. All of these sport athletes, they have platforms. They should be telling our youth, like, hey, man, you don't use that word in no capacity. Your friend, your mother, your brothers, ever. That's a white man's word. Until you turn white, you don't use it. The chance of your ass turning white is very low. So, yeah, it's something I think we need to do. We need to step it up, man. We need to step it up. Black people as a whole need to get more, more conscious. Let white people use it. It's their word, let them use it. Shit, I like when they use it. I think it's an identifier. Because if a white person can let that word come out of their mouth, you know exactly who you're dealing with.
Like
you know exactly who you're dealing with.
It's like having a little red MAGA hat, right? Yeah,
exactly. Exactly. If they're wearing that MAGA hat, they are not your friend. No matter what you think, they are not your friend.
Well, any final thoughts then on on what we can do next, perhaps, or what anybody watching this could take to heart and perhaps put in their own life?
I praise real estate, man. Sometimes I walk into people's houses and they have this, I think it's a human reaction to like having the first Black person actually in their house, because I could tell that they kind of recoil and they follow me, you know, when I'm looking, when they don't really need to, but they follow me from room to room. And I was like, no, I don't need you hovering over me. I'm trying to do stuff, and they're, you know, it just makes me nervous, you know. But yeah, that's, you know, anything that could get the conversation started. I think that's where it starts at, having the conversation. So yeah, when you hear somebody say, "Oh yeah, my best friend is Black," like, okay, that's your best friend. How many other Black people do you mess with or come to your home? I think that's it. You know, when you break bread with someone, there's no fear. It should be love. You know, there's no fear, there's no animosity, and you're totally relaxed. You're in your home. So, you know, let's invite more Black guys to dinner.
That was and still is Steve Hill, and hopefully he will come back to the channel to talk about some other things. So thanks, Steve.
Oh, of course. We have so many topics to cover.
That is great. I will come
we
back.
haven't talked about the criminal justice system yet.
The new Jim Crow.
we got issues. Our country has issues, and I'm the most patriotic Satanist humanist to talk about.
All right.
So thanks for having me once again. Appreciate being here.
Thanks for being here. And if you like this video, remember to hit like and subscribe. If for some reason you didn't like this video, you can hit the little downvote button too. YouTube doesn't care. So it'll still be engagement for my channel. So hit like and subscribe, hit the little bell notification so you know when I put up more videos. Share this video around. And Steve, as you may have noticed, has his own playlist on my channel now called Satanist Says What? So come back and see what the Satanist has to say next time. Thanks for joining us.